And the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, joins us now from his official residence in Washington. Mr. Vice President, good morning.
How are you, Erica? Good morning.
I'm well, thanks. Before we get to the politics at hand this morning, we do want to talk about this threat, which has been described as specific, credible, but unconfirmed. What is the very latest this morning?
It is a real threat. 4 months ago, the president ordered the chief terrorist specialist in the White House, John Brennan, to run to ground, as they say, every potential lead, because when the president got bin Laden, when the special forces got bin Laden, they found in the compound information that he wanted to see an attack on 9/11. So we've been following every thread that we possibly can. People should be alert. They should not alter what they're doing. We have significant security, local police and federal agencies working on this.
All right, we'll continue to follow that. In terms of the politics at hand this morning, of course, Speaker Boehner put out a statement saying the proposals merit consideration. Eric Cantor was tweeting about it last night, saying, let's work together. He said there were policies both sides can work on. So there is clearly some room for compromise, as the president was calling for last night. What do you see as the first point that could gain bipartisan support?
Well, I think the first point to gain bipartisan support is the tax cuts for people who get a payroll stub. That is, they would get an extra $1,500. Right now, you pay 6.2% out of every paycheck that gets taken out before you're paid. That would go down to 3.1%. The result of that for the average person out there working is an additional $1,500 a year. That's the difference between being able to pay your auto insurance, being able to do a lot of things that really matter to people hanging on the edge. Number two, we ought to be able to work on giving employers a same cut, cutting their payroll tax in half for every new employee they hire. And if they hire a veteran, they get up to $9,000 incentive. The last thing we need is send these kids, like my son and others, to Iraq and Afghanistan for a year and have them come back and have no job. It's just unconscionable. And so there's an overwhelming incentive to do that. And there's also an overwhelming incentive for us to be able to go out there and put people back in the classrooms, put teachers in classrooms, put cops back on the street, and put firefighters on the street. I mean, here we are talking about 9/11, an incredible threat. You know who we're calling on? We're calling on local law enforcement, local firefighters, local first responders. And they've been decimated across the country because of local budgets. So there's a whole lot of things we should be able to do. There's no reason why any aspect of this proposal should not be passed, and it is paid for.
There is, though, of course, that's the leadership, Republican leadership, speaking out about bipartisanship, about compromise, but not every Republican feels that way. It's already been referred to as a stimulus. There's going to probably need to be some compromise on the part of the White House. Where would you and the president be willing to compromise with Republicans here?
We are willing to compromise in any ideas that will help the middle class. If they have a better idea how to put more money in the pockets of middle-class people who are hanging on by a thread, if they're willing to come up with a better idea how to keep people, let them refinance their mortgages to 4% and average person save $2,000 a year, if they have a better idea on how to go and make sure that employers get a boost for hiring people, if they're willing to go out there and tell us how they can help the unemployed while training them in jobs that they may be able to get later, after their unemployment runs out, if they have better ideas, then we are totally prepared to compromise. But we are not prepared to compromise in terms of doing nothing. People are hurting. People are going to go to bed tonight, Erica, in their bedroom, staring at the ceiling, and they're going to literally wonder whether they're going to be able to be there next month because their house is underwater. And they're wondering whether or not the stagnant wages they have, they're going to have to pick up the phone and call their daughter at the state university and say, honey, you can't go back next semester. They're just wondering if unemployment's run out and there's no prospect. They've been unemployed for 9 months. People are in desperate shape. We're not willing to compromise on not helping them.
Mr. Vice President, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.